the confession and boink scene. Oh my god! Coming back for part 2, and y'all are showing me that near the end of episode 5? Sorry for the yelling, but like, can we just talk about it for a second? Oh my god, if you're watching this, you could see my hand already. Let me just come in to the frame. Yes, hello everybody! Hello. Let me just sit down. Oh my god. This dress, man, it's so long. I need to honestly get it tailored at this point. I'm just gonna gather the fabric and just... There we go. Hey everybody! Welcome back to the Real Small Talk Podcast. I am your host, Morgan, aka Morio. Hello, welcome. You couldn't tell by my costume. I am doing the final episode of talking about Bridgerton, specifically Bridgerton Season 4, Part 2. As I'm like recording this, I still haven't posted my Part 1 yet. So I'm definitely going to condense these two into the same week, probably, of uploading and everything. But if you haven't seen Part 1, go do that, and then come back here to watch me talk about Season 4, Part 2 of Bridgerton. I'm going to take off this glove. I'm not even going to lie. It gets a little hot for me, and I don't want to be uncomfortable while I'm talking. So she's going to stay over here. But I have the other glove, y'all. Don't worry. My Prince Charming gave it back to me. My non-existent one. Watching Part 1 was great. When I watched Part 2, though, I watched it with both my best friends. We watched it actually in my room. I bought a projector for it, and it was so fun. We were in my room for literally probably 5-6 hours. Just gonna be honest. But we had such a great time. We also went to, for one of my best friend's birthdays, or it was her early birthday gift, but we went to one of those candlelight shows. We went to a Bridgerton one. Fabulous, by the way. The orchestra musicians were great. I think that's what they're called. I could be so wrong, but they were really great. They've made music for the show, which is pretty crazy. I didn't think that at all. I thought they were just covering from the show, but no, some of them, the orchestra that played that night, orchestrated POV by Ariana Grande, and I think another song, but I honestly forgot about it. That's been my Bridgerton life since the end of January up until the end of February. Now it's March, the end of March, which is honestly kind of crazy. Now we're like a quarter into the year of 2026, and it's been not bad. I actually have been enjoying 2026 more than 2025, actually. Before we get into the main topic of this episode, let me properly introduce myself. Hello, my name is Morgan, aka Morio. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, you obviously know that already. But on this podcast, I talk about life discussions, things about life, to movies, TV shows, media that I'm very, fixated on and want to talk about. All you need to know is I'm a yapper, and I don't keep my mouth shut. I don't like keeping it in. I gotta spill my guts out. And I want y'all to feel like it is just a girly talking to you, whatever you're doing today, whether you're working right now or not. Maybe you're downtime. Maybe you're doing a little hobby while you're listening to me, which that would be awesome. Tell me what hobby you're doing. Thank you for stopping by if you're new here. And let's get into Bridgerton Season 4, Part Deuce. Dose. Let me break it down how it's going to go. I'm obviously going to talk about likes and dislikes and my overall feelings of Season 4 in general. So yeah, my first like is Benedict's character in Part 2. Brother was crashing out for the most part in the second half. I think I mentioned this in Part 1, where we're so used to him on the sidelines and also kind of just fooling around, doing his thing, but once he got serious with Sophie, how he felt about Sophie, he was doing everything in his power to be with this woman. Violet and Anthony, those crash outs he had with those two, oh my god, so good. Like, aside from the character of Benedict, like, Luke Thompson was so good in these scenes and his crash out, even his declaration of love, his confession of his feelings to Sophie was so good. It was so, like, just such a perfect moment. We'll get into the confession scene later on, but the crash outs were so valid. Even when she broke up with him, because yes, she agreed to be with him at some point in the beginning of part 2, but then obviously when she overheard Benedict and Anthony talking about their relationship, she was like, listen, I'm actually going to back out from this. I'm going to take the other job back at the Penwood house and all that. He was like, we don't have to be together, but I'll get you an apartment. I could still take care of you. I'm like, oh my god. The love stories with Anthony and Colin. Listen, no diss to them. Yes, they were fortunate to find women that were meant for them, that are of class, that are part of the ton. If we had to really compare the three, the yearning, the declaration, the anything, they would do anything, Benedict is at the top of my list. He was willing to go on a boat, on a ship to America to be with this woman. And that would mean not talking to his family for a long time, not be in any contact with them at all, and probably never be able to return to the ton. When I think of that song by Rihanna, right, Breaking Dishes, love that song, by the way. Oh my god. When she says, amen, 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 I think of Benedict. I was going to say Cumberbatch. Benedict Bridgerton, okay? Okay? His character development was perfection. They did it right. They wrote it right. And it's just, so, I'm just so proud of my Benny boy. Editing / future Morgan here, y'all. How's it going? I forgot to mention this when it came to my like for Benedict's development and his overall character for season 4 when he came out to Sophie. I really liked this because he's coming out to her, right, and hoping that she's accepting for who he is, but at the same time, he's not ashamed of it at all. He was willing to go the distance for her, and coming out to her was, I felt like, was one of the first few steps of gaining her trust in him in order to be together. She was just very like, okay, you're bisexual, I'm for it, I get it. Which makes me question her. Has she been with women? That would be something. That would have been something if she said that. It was a very subtle moment, but still very endearing and very warm, and accepting him for who he is. We love our bi king. Anyways, next like that I have is Sophie's character in part 2. The relatability, as I keep mentioning, like her just feeling like a burden and feeling like she's in the way of things and she doesn't want to ruin anybody's relationship, is so, like, you feel for her. You're like, no, you're not doing like that. Like, you're not burdening anybody. Like, we want this for you. Even like that one scene where she saw the painting of literally her being the lady in silver that Benedict painted and everything. She was like literally jealous of herself, which was kind of funny. But I understand what she's doing, like why she's reacting that way, right? Because if it was somebody else who is actually part of a noble family, who is, who can be with Benedict, like, yeah, I would be jealous of this imaginary woman who I played too. Okay? It was just so real. I just liked that part where she's just like, what does this woman mean to you? Like, girl, that's literally you, though. He's literally saying the things about you. But I get it. In the past seasons with the female leads, they're part of a noble family. And of course, you still feel for them at times when they're going through something. But with Sophie, girl, you deserve love like everybody else. You know what I mean? And I know she's not fully part of a noble family and such like that, but you just root for her that things will work out in the end anyway. My next like is the Banafi storyline overall. I ate this season with these two. I ate it all the way up. Every single episode, I was like, I want more of them. I want more. Even when Luke and Urine were on like tour, doing press junkets and all that, I was like, oh my god, I want to see them more together. They honestly, I've never had two characters evoke an emotion in me to the point where I'm just like, I hate y'all. Like, I don't like that y'all do that. But you did. So good on you, and also bad on you. Because I just think about y'all. Not in a creepy way. Just like, oh my god, y'all really raised my standards to the rooftops. My standards were here, maybe lower, skyrocketed out of this world. I'm like, no man will ever, no man will ever make me feel some type of way until the day it comes. That sounds really weird, but you know what I'm trying to say. I hope y'all know what I'm trying to say. First of all, let's get into it. The confession and boink scene. Oh my god! Coming back for part 2, and y'all are showing me that at near the end of episode 5? Sorry for the yelling, but like, can we just talk about it for a second? Sophie found out the Penwell family is literally next door. They're the neighbors of the Bridgerton. She goes upstairs. Benedict is sensing something is going on, so he goes after her. And then we see Violet go after her son, being like, leave her alone. Whatever's going on with you two, you need to stop. Because she thinks that this is another situation where it's not a serious, like, connection, like they're not actually in love. She thinks it's just like another fling for him that he's going through with another person. And he's like, mother, before you chastise me, you're gonna judge me when you've been sleeping with another man that's not your husband. Granted, he's dead, but still miscommunication at the end of the day. Anyways, Benedict and Sophie start talking about what's going on between them, this tension and all that, and Sophie's just like, you show me a world that I cannot have. That's obviously not the right the right words of what she said, but she's just like, each time you show me, it hurts me. You hurt me. When do you stop to think about me? And this is where Benedict gets into his confession scene, where he's just like, every moment of every day. His confession scene, I will say, was pretty like simple. There was no like specific wording. Like the writing was really simple with his confession scene. Comparing to like Antony with the bane of my existence and the object of all my desires, that was specific writing to me. Like there's something like detailed about it. But with Benedict's, it's pretty simple, but at the same time it works for him, if that makes sense. We can see that he doesn't need to say how he feels. He's shown it. Comparing to Antony, like he's made mixed signals to Kate and all that. With Benedict, he's been pretty straightforward, even though the way he goes about it in the start was not the best. After he was like, be my mistress, he didn't understand where Sophie was coming from. Her father was a nobleman, her mom was a mistress, and she doesn't want to go through the same thing. He didn't know that up until she confessed that later on. Back to his confession scene, and this part of the show, of episode 5, he confesses how he feels. He says, I love you 3 times. She is falling into this like I would have. Like anybody would have, okay? Let's just be for real. And this is where Teddy Swims starts playing Lose Control. Great. Again, I will applaud the music for this because I was like, oh my god, yes, this makes sense for them. When we got to the spicy scene, girl, I don't want to say too much. I'm just gonna say 2 things. Doing 3 positions is insane, and this was Sophie's first time, quote unquote first time. And the second thing I gotta say about this part is Benedict knows how to whine. He knows how to whine those hips, if you know what I'm saying. I was dry heaving, I was going insane, all the above of what you could think of. I was just going feral. That's all you need to know. We're gonna move on to the next thing, which is the wedding. I really like that there wasn't a wedding episode, that we got to see it like as like a little sweet treat in the end of episode 8, after the credits and all that. It was just so simple and beautiful. They got married at my cottage. There's little details about it. Someone pointed out that Benedict was wearing a kite pin. Everybody's there. It's not just noble family. Like, it's not just the Bridgertons. There was people that Sophie worked with, right, at the Bridgerton house, at the Penwood house. I really liked that in this season they were hinting it was either going to be Eloise or Francesca next season, which it is now confirmed that it is going to be Francesca. I will talk about that in the end. The last shot of this wedding sequence was Benedict's first ever finished painting, and it was Sophie. What a way to end that season. Didn't need a lot of time, didn't need an episode dedicated to their wedding. And it was great. Their chemistry, their story, you're just rooting for them the whole time. No, we're gonna see them again. We're gonna see them obviously in the next season. I would hope. Okay, they have to. That's part of the job. That's part of the formula of Bridgerton is once your season is up, you gotta visit the next season and then you can fully disappear the next season after. Okay? That's fine. I'm not gonna be mad at that. But we need to see more of them. I want to see them have kids, have a family, just have such a joyous time of marriage life. Let's get into my next which is the Beyond episode. Spoiler alert, John passes away. The Beyond episode is really just about his funeral and everyone's feelings about him. I still felt the same way about Francesca and John since season 3. I really liked their dynamic, their chemistry. They're just that one introverted couple, but they get each other without talking, and I really liked that about them. And they were pretty solid throughout the season up until he has passed, right? And obviously this is making room for the chemistry between Michaela and Francesca, of course, for their season and all that. But I just really liked that John was not an asshole. He was a pretty decent guy. He was just a simple dude, just there in a good way, not the bad way. You know what I mean? He was great to Francesca. I think the only time I was feeling some type of way about him was when he was like, oh, I want you and Michaela to get along. And once they were, he was getting suspicious. But I think rightfully so, because obviously there's something in the air between them, obviously. Another thing about this episode is the biscuit moment. After the funeral, everybody is going to the Bridgerton house, and there's a moment where Francesca's literally hating the fact that everybody's talking about John and his passing and people's memories of John and all that. So her focus through this scene was the biscuits. She, goes to her siblings saying oh, does anybody want a biscuit? And one of them is oh, the maids could take care of that. She obviously doesn't want that. Of course, she wants to serve it herself. And Eloise kind of picks this up and she's just oh, let us all have a biscuit. And they start eating it and describing flavors. I know it's not such a big deal the way I'm talking about it, but it's just a moment of a sibling helping out their other sibling in a sense. Francesca's physically showing that she just wants to focus on this. She doesn't want to focus on anything that is about John, people who are talking about John. And Eloise, I know she's not the older sister. It is Daphne. But obviously, since Daphne is not there this season, she really showed up for her sister Francesca and was taking lead of that particular moment. Another thing that happens in this episode is Francesca lying about having a child. She confesses to Benedict and Lord Dunders that she is pregnant, and this is where Lord Dunders suggests that she gets an examination. She didn't want to do it right away. She was I don't want to do this right now. I'm not comfortable. And he's it's part of the process. And this is where Benedict once again crashes out on somebody respectfully, and rightfully so. We're a respectable family. This is ridiculous. You shouldn't be pressuring my sister to do this. And Lord Dunders does not give a fuck. He's I sympathize. I really do. But this is part of the process. So we get to see, of course, Francesca getting examined. Eloise and Violet are there to support her. And it's obviously a little bit of an uncomfortable scene because this is out of her control. She can't be not, she doesn't have the decision of not getting examined. And that part was just so real. And back in that time, that was just the reality of it, right? And you just feel for that. Like, you just feel like bad for Francesca and the situation she's in. She lied about it. And at first I was confused why she kind of did that. But once we got to a scene with Violet and Francesca where Violet is trying to comfort her, but not doing the best job at it, in a sense. Like, not saying that's a bad thing, but it's obviously not working for Francesca. And this is where Francesca is like, listen, mom, you and I are the same, but we're not. You have 8 children to remember your husband. I have nothing. I have nothing to show for John. I should have done this and that. And this is where I was like, okay, I understand why she kind of lied about it, is because she wanted to feel like she did something for John, but obviously didn't happen, right? And you just feel so bad for her. You were such a great wife to him. You were fine. It was great. Your relationship was great. This was just an unfortunate event that happened, and it's unfortunately part of life where it's really unexpected. Back again. Yes, this is future slash editing Morgan. I apologize for interrupting the flow of my previous recording. What I liked about the Beyond episode 7, is the ending. Michaela and Francesca decided to do kind of a do-over celebration reception. Everybody starts talking about John. Michaela made a speech. Francesca made a little bit of a speech. Michaela decides to teach everybody a dance that she and John learned when they were kids. So she had Francesca to help her out because it's a two-partner kind of dance, a duo. So she kind of does like a tutorial for everybody to follow. Everybody starts dancing, having a good time. And then we focus back on Benedict. He kind of stops dancing. He's kind of looking at everybody in the room. And it's just very much kind of giving, like, although he loves his family and he would do anything for them, there's still that one missing person, and that is Sophie. He decides to leave. He's on a horse, and this is where I really liked about the scene. I feel like nobody really talked about it, but there's Scottish music playing. When Benedict is on the horse, right, the Scottish music is going at the beat of the horse galloping. I thought that was a really cool, like, editing style or like touch to the scene, because I was like, oh, okay, Bridgerton, we're going to the beat of the horse. Like, it's very small. I don't think it's that significant, but I just thought that was really cool. But I digress. We get back to the Bridgerton house. Benedict goes to his room, finds the ring that his mother gave to him. Once he found the ring, he notices something else on the floor of his room, and it is Sophie's necklace. He's looking at this necklace and thinking, like, wait, this looks familiar. Like, I know it's Sophie's, but I feel like I've seen it before. He gets his sketchbook and looks at all the sketches he made of the Lady in Silver. And then there's one specific one with the same pendant as Sophie's necklace. And that's where it clicks for him, where he's like, oh, I just realized that the girl I'm in love with is the girl I met at the ball, at the masquerade ball. We cut to Sophie, right? She decides to not tell anybody that she's leaving. I think everybody knows that it was her last day, but decides not to say goodbye to them. Once she's at the entrance, exiting out, Armanita and a policeman, I don't know what you call them back then, we're just going to go with that, arrests her, right, for theft, for the shoe clips, and impersonating a noble person. Ooh, plot twist! Once she got arrested, we see a shot of Benedict opening the door and looking for Sophie, and it cuts to black. Again, I really liked this episode because we started off pretty, like, in a heavy state in the beginning, of course, because of John and his passing, and then it gets lighter near the end, and it's kind of an in conclusion to Francesca and John's relationship, right? And something forthcoming is brewing with Michaela and Francesca's relationship. Then we focus back on Benedict and his love story. So I really like those, like, elements, those, like, kind of shifts in emotions. It was really well done. Hannah Dodd was definitely the star of this episode throughout the whole thing. I shall let you go back to past Morgan, I guess. Yes. Anyways, see ya. My last like is the female friendships and connections during part two. I felt like we were really heavily focusing on the Queen and Lady Danbury's relationship, of course. Once we got to part two, we saw the connection with them still there, and we also saw the connection with Hyacinth and Eloise, or Sophie and Posey, or even Posey and Eloise had like a little moment. I just really liked that they were showcasing like these female friendships, and I just really liked Eloise and Hyacinth's relationship. Like Eloise this season, so great. I really liked her character development. Like she's still the same gal we all know, but she's obviously opened up a little bit more. Hyacinth really wants to get into society, and she's prepping for it. And Eloise is not really being supportive. You know, she's just like, I don't like doing this, and I know I have to do this because if I do this, I don't have to talk to suitors, and if I don't, then I have to talk to suitors. And that was her whole thing throughout the season. And this reminds me of a quote from Little Women where Emma Watson's character says, just because my dreams are different doesn't mean they're unimportant. And I feel like that quote really was heavy on these two characters' relationship in this season. Near the end, once John passed, Hyacinth had like a different perspective. She's just like, actually, I'm gonna prolong my debut. I'm not gonna do this because at some point my husband's gonna die, and why would I wanna go through that? And this is where we get a switch where Hyacinth understands Eloise's perspective, and Eloise understands Hyacinth's perspective. And I just really liked that dynamic. It was so refreshing to see. It was a little bit different because I felt like we haven't really seen Eloise and Hyacinth together that much up until now. But hey, now let's get into my liked honorable mentions. The Montrich family storyline was definitely better. I was very surprised and very happy that we got to see them a little bit more involved in a season, because again, I think I said this in for part one, they've been just really staying in the background, not really involved. But now that we got to see Alice being a lady and winning, and she knows a little bit of the tea and she knows how to handle it, something I was looking forward to, because I want to see them more as much as like the Featherington. My next honorable mention is Hyacinth's recital. We're seeing Hyacinth and Gregory getting into society a little bit, and again, it's just so cute to see because they're teenagers and they're experiencing like somewhat dating life where they have to interact with boys, where they have to interact with girls. When we saw Hyacinth, there was like a moment where if a suitor gets her lemonade, that means he likes her. The suitor she danced with didn't get her lemonade, he just walked away, which kind of just reminds me of like her knowing that. She obviously heard it from like the grapevine or something. Think of like now or even back then in like the 2000s, you kind of read that online or on the magazine where it's like, if he does this and that, that means he likes you. I just like that comparison a lot. And then when we got to Gregory, when he danced with one specific debutante, he's like, to Colin, you know, Colin's like, how did it go? And he's like, I think I'm in love. It's just, I like how innocent it is. It's so cute. And it just reminds me of when I used to go to dances, when I had to dance with a guy. And this was part of the Mormon church, by the way, if you didn't know. I was part of the Mormon church, not part of it anymore. But yes, I used to go to dances like once a month. It was fun. I really liked it. I got to interact with people from different places in Ontario, and it was great. But I just really like that it's very like first like experiencing of dating life or like interacting with boys and some or girls in a romantic way. So yeah, and 360 by Charlie XCX being orchestrated, such a touch to the recital. My last honorable mention is Violet and Marcus's relationship now. Violet starts to question things with her relationship with Marcus, and she's just like confused, and she kind of realizes she's not ready to be in a proper relationship with him, even though she said yes to his proposal. Yep, he proposed in the second half of this season. She literally did what Benedict did, saying like, let's keep it on the down low, like let's still be, you know, she literally asked him to be her mistress. Marcus, be my mistress. He stood his ground, and I really liked that. He was just like, listen, I love you, and I liked our time together, but this is not what I want. I want us to be together. And he leaves. So I am hoping that this is to give them space to come back to each other at some point later on in a Bridgerton season. And if they show us a new love interest for Violet, I'm honestly not gonna clock in for that. Even for Marcus, if he has somebody else, not clocking in for that either. I'm not here for that. I'm here for Marcus and Violet only. That was my last honorable mention. Now, let's get to my dislikes. My first dislike was Sophie being a part of her father's will. I kind of wish that they left it out. Just I feel like to have a different view on the show in a way, because we've been so used to a Bridgerton marrying somebody in the ton or who is part of a noble family, right? It would have been so interesting to see that she's not part of a noble family. She ran away, and then Benedict, yeah, like he lives there. This was his season. Are we gonna really see him again? Yes, but not all the time anymore. So it would make sense if he did go after her and they had a life in America. That's just my personal opinion, okay? But I'm not upset with the ending. Again, I expected it to obviously have a happy ending because it's obviously Bridgerton, but it just would have been really interesting if they took the different route of a different ending. My last dislike is Anthony's return. Listen, I have ups and downs with Anthony because I really liked him in his season alone. I actually didn't mind him in season 3, but once we got to season 4 with his return, this is where he finds out what the relationship with Benedict and Sophie. He starts talking to Benedict about it, like, this is not a good idea. You're obviously not thinking things through. He's like, I have thought everything through, actually. I really love her. This is not you and Sienna, okay? I would do anything to be with this woman. You and Sienna, you did nothing for her, okay? You just wanted some kitty cat, okay? At some point where he talks to Benedict again, and this is where Sophie overhears them, but Anthony says, like, I should cut you off and protect the family. Literally, me and my best friend were like, do it, just do it then. Like, his character this season resorted back to how he was in season 1. I felt like it was so misleading in the trailer too. Like, I thought he was going to say something inspirational to Benedict, but he just felt like a little bit of a rat. A little bit unreasonable. So I was just like, I hate this. And then when we got to the wedding scene, right? He was the best man, whatever. Okay. It's funny that he will show up for that and the wedding, but didn't show up for Francesca's dead husband. Right. He's just like, never listen to me. Father would be proud of you. You're only here because you found out that they figured something out for her to be able to marry Benedict because she's somewhat part of a noble family. Right. At this point, it's a love-hate relationship again. Back then, I was like, okay, this is a love relationship. I like that he's learned, but this season, with his return, right. And that was this week's episode of Real Small Talk, yeah. This is my favorite season up to date, y'all. I mean, I already said it throughout this episode and everything, but genuinely, I felt like comparing it to season 3, they really came back around. I can't believe it's over. It's not, I mean, as Luke Thompson said, it's never over. We're always going to be Benedict and Sophie. Nobody has ever played these characters. But still, like, we're going to see them less. We're going to see Benedict less now, right, as the seasons continue. Love Benedict and Sophie. Banoffee forever. Now we know season 5. Yeah, season 5 is going to be about Francesca and Michaela. I've heard some mixed feelings. I was hoping that Eloise would be next just because girl has been there. She's been through the ringer with being in every season at this point. I'm not saying I'm disappointed or anything. I am curious to see what direction they're going to go for these two. It's definitely going to be interesting because it's a lesbian story. You know, it's a gay story. We've never experienced that before. I mean, with Benedict, that doesn't count. No, I'm joking. But I'm just saying, like, we've never had, like, a queer story, and this would be the first one for Bridgerton in general. I will definitely be tuning in, and if you're not, and you're mad that, oh, this is a lesbian story, are you really a Bridgerton fan? Are you really into Bridgerton? You really didn't expect this? Girl, they've been saying this from season 3. My one note I will say is Michaela is John's cousin. Okay, I don't want to be feeling the whole love triangle with related members. Okay, I'm referencing the Summer I Turned Pretty. We had to accept that that was the story. I don't want to keep accepting that with another, like, two of them are related. Again, I don't mind them, but it's just because she was with John and John is Michaela's cousin. Like, it's just a little weird because they're related. That's all I'm saying. I don't mind a queer story. I absolutely eat it up every time, but it's just because they're related. Okay, I had to go through the ringer for 3 years, for 3 seasons of The Summer I Turned Pretty, when Belly is going on one brother's uh, puss. No, on one brother's member to the next. Like, that's insane because they were related, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Nothing to do with them being lesbians. It's just Francesca was on John's dick, and now she's gonna go on Michaela's puss, and they're related. It's just a little weird. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm done. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you liked my Bridgerton talks in the last 2 months. I hope you're not annoyed at me. There's something about Bridgerton that does it for me every time. Even though I haven't been a fan for that long. I think I've been a fan for like a year and a half now. But hey, there's just something about it, man. If you want to keep up with this podcast on other social platforms, I'm on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, all at the same handle, at Real Small Talk Podcast. Check me out there. I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.